What's up? We got The Flash, Season 3, Episode 18, Abra, Kadabra. This episode starts off with police a police guy and police guys entering a crime scene with this guy just touches a device, but they're like, hey, get away from that thing, but he's like, no, and transports them into the device and kills them by making them by making them drown to death. So sorry for making me think of that over a long period of time. I should have known that, but I didn't. It was pretty weird. So yeah. So then they're so then Iris is like, oh, we see Iris, Barry, Joe, and Cecile all talking about how Barry proposed to her and about how he sings, and Barry's like, yeah, Joe has a great singing voice, and he's like, and yeah, so then she's like, oh, Barry, there's these like Hamilton tickets that her friend won, and they're on July. So then they're like, July, yeah. Iris might not be around for that July because we want to see what Iris is like. So then they get inspected over the victims of the dead bodies. So they're like, hey, since we stopped the gorilla attack, maybe this will change. But the future has not changed. But they did stop the gorilla attack. So what is not change? What's not changing the future? So then Caitlyn's like, hey, Julie, you got a thing for the opera? And he's like, yeah, when we're together, I bought for us to go, but since he never went. But he's like, yeah, take whoever you want. She's like, then she talks to this guy saying, Julian just doesn't understand why I took the Philosopher's Stone. And he's like, why I took the Philosopher's Stone. And he's like, you used to get rid of your power. Anyone would have done that. And she's like, then why doesn't he understand? So, yeah, why doesn't, actually, I don't think where Julian's coming from. He think Caitlyn betrayed him or something about the whole, using the philosophers, keeping the piece of the stone for herself. But obviously keeping the piece of the stone for herself is obviously a wrong move in Julian's eyes. So, yeah. So then they get worried about it. So he's like, hey, Barry Allen. And he's like, 2017 is making you a lot younger. And he's like, who are you? And he's like, and how do you know my name? And he's like, I'm from the future, bro. The 21st century. And he's like, I know about since it's 2017, how's your doom love with Iris West? So then they fight, but then Gypsy shows up saying, bro, I'm gonna take it back to Earth 19. But then he's like, hey, Barry, if you let Gypsy take it back, you won't know who Savitar is. So, yeah. That's why he's like, hey, we can't let you take him back. He's like, why not? Because this guy could be the first piece we've ever had to find out who Savitar is and how to save you, Iris. But he's like, well, without the guy, we've been square one, so we can't let Gypsy take him back to Earth 19. So then we get the continuation of the whole Cisco Gypsy relationship and the whole Cisco Gypsy relationship, where Cisco's like, ooh, Gypsy, remember last time we totally kissed? And she was like, yeah, was that meant to happen or was that not meant to happen? And totally, so they decided to, go and, they decided to go. So, yeah. So they can't abracadabra, but it's a hologram because the real abracadabra isn't. So, yeah. So he's like, it's a hologram, like, we didn't see it, Barry. Oh, Barry's room. Just kidding. But obviously, so they decided he go, and she's like, hey, and so yeah, so Gypsy, so Abracadabra's able to escape, and Joe lets him out, so he escaped, and Gypsy basically blames him, saying, hey, this is all your fault, Joe, and he's like, yeah, so Caitlin basically. So they're able to stop him, but he's able to make everything explode, which hits shrapnel into Caitlin, basically making Caitlin injured. And so Gypsy's like, hey Joe, this is all your fault because of you, Abracadabra is now, what's his real name? Abracadabra is now out. So obviously, but he's like, hey, he has information that could save Iris's life. I don't care about your whole taking back your 19. And he's like, remember, detective, this is on you. So he's like, Cisco tells her, hey, this is Iris's life. It's his daughter's life. And she's like, did you lose someone, Gypsy? And she's like, and he's like, yeah, she lost her partner. She was killed by Abracadabra, and she's been hunting, he's been hunting her ever, and she's been hunting him ever since. Oh yeah. They decide to perform. So Caitlin decides to perform her own autopsy perform her own medical surgery on herself while she's awake. So yeah, so they're able to get out of her. So what happening? Abracadabra has like this big ship that's going on, and it's just going on. So yeah, so they're like, hey, let's, and they stop Kadabra, and he's about to be arrested by the Flash when he's like, hey, yeah, the whole I know his avatar thing never comes up. He's just like, hey Barry, you and I are enemies in the future, Barry. You've had other ones, Thawne, Zoom, DeVoe, and yeah. But he's like, hey Barry, he's like, hey, I know there's good in you. I know there's light in you, and I know I can help you. So anyway, what happens is that Barry decides to go to the future to find, since his villains are one step ahead of him always because they have future knowledge. So Barry's deciding to go to the future to help save Iris's life. So meanwhile, Caitlin's in medical. She's telling with Cisco, but that's when she starts flatlining. HR randomly appears out of nowhere. Human Resources randomly appears out of nowhere just to be here because he randomly is like, hey, I'm in this episode randomly. But then Caitlin dies. R.I.P. Caitlin. But then what happens is that Julian removes her necklace, and he's like, and Cisco's like, that's not what she wanted. He's like, I don't care. I'm not gonna lose her, okay? But that's when Killer Frost opens her eye. Ice comes out, and Killer Frost blasts the screen. And he's like, Caitlin. But that's when Caitlin Whitehair or Killer Frost shows up, blasting the screen to end with ice to end the episode. So this episode was okay. Though I feel like it was a whole cop out with the whole I know who Savitar is thing, but we never find out why he knows who Savitar is. That was the biggest cop out of the episode. Like, oh Barry, if you let me go with Gypsy, you'll never find out who Savitar is. But then after defeating him, Barry's like, he's like, hey, let me give him a minute, and then he never tells him who Savitar is. Then what's the point of saying I know who Savitar is if you're not even gonna reveal to the audience who Savitar is? What is the point of all this? What is the point? There's no point. Because obviously, if there was a point to this episode, they would have Abracadabra reveal who Savitar is. And Barry going to the future is going to be an interesting next episode because we're going to see how our characters are in the future. So, but yeah. But what's the point of Abracadabra's a cool villain, you know? Or, as we learn later, his name is Philip, I think. Philip is a cool villain. But I'm just saying, the whole he knows who Savitar is, and we're like, oh, is he gonna tell us who Savitar is? Nah, he doesn't. He just says how he and Barry have been villains, has been enemies for a long time, and he has had other villains like Thawne, Zoom, DeVoe, probably a tease for next season, whoever DeVoe is, and yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just saying that I just have a problem with how this episode tried to build up the Savitar reveal, but didn't even build up the Savitar reveal. So we still don't know who Savitar is. We still don't know. But anyway, that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time for more of The Flash. Zoom, zoom.